Hey crafters, this is Paulette in Missouri, and I have this new Eileen Hull Sizzix die called Canning Jars 3D. Super cute. I am cutting it with my Dumpster Dive mat board find. I've been getting handfuls of this, and it cuts beautifully. So I've got some jars, I've got some jar lids, and I've got the body of the box. Now, I have been cutting this on my AccuCut Grand Mark because I can selectively lay my pieces on the machine and send it through at an angle, and it just goes through very nicely. So I cut that piece that way, and then I rotated this around and cut this piece this way. I do the same thing. I can get more mileage out of my mat board rather than laying a whole piece on here and then you have all of this wastage in between. Some of this wastage you might still be able to get a lid out of it, but I can get much more mileage if I cut it up and strategically lay it on here. So that's what I'm doing. That just makes my mat board go farther. So that, you know, I'm a penny pincher. So that's what that's all about. So let's do, I promised to figure out my sandwich for my embossing. I've been doing the large jar with these Sizzix texture plates. I did do, this one was with a texture plate. I did this one inside an embossing folder and it did okay. I had to help it through my machine. These might be better off done as well on the AccuCut Grand Mark. Just because it's a mighty machine and it has the large handle and it has more force. My little electric machine here has struggled, but it still works. So I'm going to demonstrate on this. Obviously, don't tear up your machine. I don't want anybody to tear up their machines. You know, I'm very persnickety about the money I have invested in my card making products. You know, and if they don't work well or they tear up, I'm not a very happy camper because I've spent a lot of my gift money and special money on them. So, don't tear up your machine. Let's do the large jar first. And let's see, I've done this circle one a bunch. Now, I tried washi tape to hold this on here and it tore my washi tape. That's where it tore as it impressed that. So, gosh, and that left some residue on my pad too, so I don't want that. So I'm not going to use the washi tape this time. Let's just do these jars. I'm just going to lay this on here about where I want it. I always keep a clear mat on the bottom so I don't have to worry about that shifting around. Then I have my, this one's called the Essentials platform. If you have the Cuttlebug, it's the A spacer plate. These are both the same thicknesses. And I tried just strategically, what made sense to me was to kind of center this so there was a little bit of space on all sides so the machine could grab it and pull it through. I couldn't get it to go through with the texture pad. That made it too thick because this mat board is very dense. It's very thick. So what worked for me was my little rubber mat. This is one of the Spellbinder rubber mats for embossing, and I had cut this one in half so I could share a piece of it with someone else. So I am just going to use this little piece, and I'm not worrying about what's going on up here at the lid of the jar because that is absolutely going to be covered up with the jar lid. This is a homemade shim, and This top outer piece, which has not fared well, is a very inexpensively made cardboard. This was a pasta box from Great Value. And the other two pieces are Sizzix box, which is much more durable than your standard cereal box. You can even see they're a different color, they're a different grade. So I'm going to use this softer one on the very bottom. And when I place this on here, I'm going to put it in here like this so that several inches of it go off of the mat. And then several inches go off the other side of my jar. That way it's going to be less stress on my machine. And I am going to help this through. I'm going to first push it until it stops. And then I am going to push it when we get started here. And keep pushing because it's such a strain on my machine. But you can see I got a lovely impression. And then here's one that I did direct ink. This was the new Coastal Cabana. This is one of the new Stampin' Up! Stamp pads, and they're so full of ink that it's very saturated. But I think it's still pretty. I did one of the small jars in the Owl embossing folder, and because the ink would not get down into these other areas, I used an aqua painter, just a wet aqua painter with water, and it dilutes this ink and moves it around. I just thought that was, a little bit more like the vintage glassware. So I think that's fun too. Both ways are pretty cool. So let's emboss a small jar. And I want to do the spider web, and I don't think I carried it over here. So let's do something else. Let's pick something else. Let's see what I've got that's kind of naturey or pretty. This would be lovely. Let's do that. It's the wallpaper, vintage wallpaper from Stampin' Up. And I've got another jar. What else could we do? Let's do this. This will be kind of a Christmas poinsettia. Petals of Plenty from Stampin' Up. So let's do one each of these. They all turn out really pretty. So what works best for me is just to move this around and get it where I think I like it, and then shut the back up onto that. Now which way is this going to... Okay, it's going to push it forward. That's what I want. Some of the folders are, I don't know, they're making the design backwards, so you just kind of have to play around with it and see what you like. So I lay this on here first. I am going to use the long crease pad just so I can slip it in here over the mat. Well, we better go this way. And then the mat kind of in the middle, and then extra space off of the end there. And I may have to help it too, so I'm going to engage it into the machine as far as it will go. And push. I'm helping it. It doesn't sound like it. And now we're jammed. Okay, I've got to get the screwdriver. I didn't go fast enough. But that's okay. It will. If you can find the slot, you can release that and then it will go on through. So don't tear up your machines. I don't want anybody to tear up their machines. What a beautiful impression. And this actually impresses on both sides, so you could do whichever side you prefer. I really like the, whatever you call that, where it comes forward. I guess that's actually the emboss. This is the deboss, where it presses it down in. Both are really beautiful though. So let's do one more. And we'll go fast. I talked too much, so maybe that's what it was. I was talking too much. And this one's a very pretty all-over pattern. Engage it. Here we go. Boy, it thought about it. But I was pushing on it, so it did good. Very pretty. I still prefer the side that sticks out. Let's put some ink on one of these. Let's do red. It kind of concaved that a little bit, so you may have to flex it a little bit to get the ink up in there where you want it. But just gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous. So fun. And then you can, you know, if you wanted to, this one would be really pretty diluted. Let's just do it. Let's do it! So I've just got a little cup of water, and this is a very inexpensive thing. I just dip in mine. Oh my gosh, wouldn't these be fun for treats for your coworkers at Christmas time? Oh, I think they would be. I always feel like I have to get all the little spaces. Very fun, very vintage. Love it. Now, wouldn't that be cute with some green if you did little green lids? The lids did not have any sort of, you know, they may come out with something to emboss these. But what I did was I just laid my lid down and I took a ruler and my bone folder and just made my own crease lines. And then you can do the same thing. The only gray I have is this going gray in the old pad, so that's what I did on my original jars. Pretty darn fun. Well, I guess that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. We're out of time too, so that worked out perfectly.